Have you ever felt an inner knowing that something was about to happen, yet you had no proof? A whisper in your soul that something is moving behind the scenes? What if I told you that right now, someone is thinking of you? That even as you listen to my words, events are shifting, doors are opening, and a long-awaited message is making its way to you? The great mystery of life is that what you desire is already seeking you. But here is the secret. You must prepare your heart as if it has already arrived. There is no such thing as coincidence. There is only the unfolding of what you have assumed to be true, the message you long to hear, the words that will change everything. They are already written, already spoken in the unseen realm, waiting for you to claim them as real. You do not need to chase, beg, or wonder when. That is not your concern. Your only task is to believe it is already done. For when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, life must bring it forth into form. You may ask, how will this happen? When will they speak? What will they say? But that is not for you to decide. Your assumptions shape the unseen currents of reality, drawing toward you all that belongs to you. So tonight, before you sleep, feel the moment as if it were now. See them speaking to you, hear their voice, feel the certainty that they have already come forward. Let this feeling flood your being and watch as life arranges itself in ways beyond your comprehension. For the one who seeks you is already on their way. Trust, rest, and prepare for a divine surprise. Have you ever considered that the world you see around you is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state? That everything you have experienced, everything that has come into your life, has first existed within you as thought, as feeling, as assumption. Look at your life now, not as a collection of random events, but as a mirror reflecting the contents of your imagination. Man moves through life believing that circumstances are separate from himself, that events are happening to him rather than through him. But this is the great illusion. Nothing comes into your experience except that which has first been imagined. You may not have been aware of the imagining that brought about a particular event, but I tell you, nothing happens outside of consciousness. Your world is simply yourself pushed out. Every great discovery, every towering achievement, every relationship, every spoken word, before it appeared in the outer world, it was first formed in the unseen realm of thought. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the relationships you cherish, all began as an unseen idea, an assumption accepted as true within consciousness. And if this is so, then can you not see the immense power you hold? If imagination precedes reality, then your only task is to assume the state of your fulfilled desire and allow life to follow suit. When you long for something, when a desire takes hold of you, it is not something foreign to you. It is a glimpse into a reality that already exists. Your desire is not something to be achieved, but something to be recognized. For the moment you accept that what you long for is already yours, the moment you live from the state of its fulfillment, the outer world must conform. There is no other way. Man often asks, how can I bring about this change? How can I make this person speak to me? How can I receive what I desire? But he does not realize that all of these questions are unnecessary. There is no effort required, no struggle, no pleading with an external force. There is only assumption. Assume it is done, and reality must shape itself accordingly. You do not plant a seed and then dig it up every day to see if it is growing. You know that within the unseen soil, the process is unfolding perfectly. And so it is with your desires. The moment you plant the seed of assumption, the moment you accept that what you seek is already yours, the unseen forces of life begin their work. Circumstances shift, people are moved, paths are cleared, all without your conscious effort. You need only persist in the knowing that it is already so. Many believe they must wait for a sign, that they must see proof before they believe. But signs follow, they do not precede. You do not wait for the evidence of your assumption. You create the evidence by first assuming it to be true. Do not look outside yourself for validation. Do not ask, when will it happen? For that very question implies that it has not yet happened, and what you continue to assume to be true is what you will experience. This is why so many remain stuck in cycles of longing. They wish, they hope, they desire. But all of these states imply that they do not yet have what they seek, and as long as they persist in this state of lack, they will continue to experience lack. You must rise above longing and step into the feeling of possession. If you desire a message, a connection, a reconciliation, do not wish for it. Assume it has already been given to you. Close your eyes and hear the words spoken. Feel the joy of having received what you desire. Let that feeling take root, and it must come to pass. If all things exist in the unseen before they are made manifest, then you must accept that what you desire is already yours. You do not need to create it. You need only call it forth by assuming its reality. Let go of doubt. Let go of questioning. Accept the truth that imagination precedes reality, and you will no longer be a victim of circumstance, but a conscious creator of your world. If you can assume a thing to be true and persist in that assumption, no force in the world can stop its manifestation. It is not a question of if, it is only a matter of when. But time is not your concern. The moment you dwell in the state of fulfillment, the wheels are set in motion. How it unfolds, when it unfolds, is not your burden to carry. Trust that it is already done. There is no power outside of you. There is no obstacle that can stand between you and your assumption. The only limitation is the one you accept. And so I ask you, what are you imagining? What assumptions are you living by? Are they ones of lack, of delay, of uncertainty? Or have you stepped into the knowing that what you seek is already yours? Dare to imagine boldly. Dare to claim what is already prepared for you. And watch as the world bends to the truth of your assumption. What if I told you that the only thing standing between you and the fulfillment of your desire is the assumption you hold? That the moment you assume a thing to be true, the world begins to rearrange itself to make it so. You have been conditioned to believe that change happens from the outside, that events must first shift before you can alter your state of being. But I tell you, the opposite is true. The world does not change first, you do. And the moment you accept your desire is already fulfilled, the outer world must conform. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you assume to be true. To assume is to accept as fact. To believe in the reality of a thing before the senses can confirm it. This is the great secret of life. The law is impersonal. It does not concern itself with whether your assumption is good or bad, desirable or undesirable. It simply brings forth whatever you persist in believing. Look at your life and ask yourself, what assumptions am I living by? Are you assuming that what you seek is out of reach? That it may come, but not yet? That others hold the power to decide your fate? If so, then that is exactly what will be reflected in your world. You will experience delay, separation, and uncertainty because you have assumed them to be true. But if instead you assume that you already have what you desire, that it is already done, then life must bring forth the evidence to match that belief. There is no force outside of you deciding whether or not you will receive what you seek. You are the one who determines what comes into your world, and you do so through the simple act of assumption. If you desire a message, a confession, a long-awaited conversation, do not ask, will it happen? That very question reveals doubt, and doubt is an assumption of lack. Instead, assume it has already happened. Hear their words in your mind. Feel the certainty that they have spoken. Walk through your day knowing it is done. And if you persist in this assumption, it must become your reality. Man is so quick to believe in failure, in rejection, in delay. He rehearses disappointment in his mind, imagining all the ways things could go wrong. And then, when his fears are realized, he says, see, This is proof that my worries were justified. But he does not realize that it was his assumption of failure that caused the failure. He lived in the state of rejection before it appeared, and so the world had no choice but to give him what he had already accepted as true. You are always assuming something. You cannot escape this law. Every moment of the day you are either assuming success or failure, connection or separation, ease or struggle. And life simply mirrors back to you what you have persistently assumed. There is no luck, no chance, no external force deciding your fate. There is only you, your beliefs, your assumptions, your inner conversations. If you wish to change your world, you must change your assumptions. Assume that the message you seek is already on its way. Assume that the words have already been spoken. Assume that everything is working in your favor, even if the senses try to tell you otherwise. And do not waver. Do not look to the outer world for validation, for the outer world is only a reflection of what you have previously assumed. If you want to see change, you must first believe in the unseen. The moment you accept your desire as already fulfilled, the unseen forces of life begin their work. Paths are cleared, circumstances shift, people are moved, and events unfold in ways you could never have orchestrated. You do not need to know how it will happen. You do not need to force or manipulate or chase. Your only task is to assume it is done, to live from the end, to let the feeling of fulfillment become your dominant state. Doubt will come, and the senses will try to deceive you, but you must remain firm in your assumption. Do not allow the outer world to dictate what you believe to be true. If you persist in your assumption, even in the face of contradiction, life must conform. It has no choice. It is law. Test this for yourself. Choose something small, something that would normally seem insignificant. Assume it has already happened. See it in your mind's eye. Feel it is real, and then drop it, knowing that it is done. Do not look for signs, do not question, do not doubt. Simply rest in the assumption, and soon you will see it appear in your world. Once you prove this to yourself in small matters, you will realize that the same principle applies to everything. There is no difference between manifesting a simple event and manifesting the deepest desire of your heart. The process is the same. Assume it is done. Feel it as real. Persist. And life must bring it forth. Your assumptions are the foundation of your world. If you wish to change what you experience, change what you assume to be true. Assume the best. Assume fulfillment. Assume that what you seek is already yours. And when you do, the world will move to reflect the truth of your assumption. Have you ever stopped to consider that everything unfolding in your life is a bridge, leading you directly to the fulfillment of your assumption? That even what appears to be delay, rejection, or uncertainty is nothing more than a step toward what you have already claimed as true? Man often looks at the world and sees chaos, believing that events are random, that circumstances are outside of his control, but nothing happens by accident. Every movement, every encounter, every shift is the unfolding of a pattern set in motion by what you have assumed to be real. You may not know how the path will unfold, but that is not your concern. The moment you assume something to be true, life begins to arrange itself in ways beyond your comprehension. People are moved, events are orchestrated, and what seemed impossible becomes inevitable. But here's where many fall into doubt. They assume their desires fulfilled, and then when something contrary appears, they begin to question. They say, if it were really done, why is this happening? Why have things moved in the opposite direction? And in that moment of doubt, they undo their own work. What appears to be a setback is often part of the bridge. What seems to be silence, distance, or even rejection may be the very thing leading you to the fulfillment of your desire. The mind, trapped in limitation, wants to predict and control every step, but life does not work that way. You do not need to know the how. You only need to hold firm in the assumption that it is already done. The unseen forces of life will take care of the rest. You have experienced this before, though you may not have recognized it at the time. Think back to moments when something unfolded perfectly, yet you could never have planned it. A meeting that seemed like chance, a call that arrived at just the right moment, an event that in hindsight was exactly what was needed. These were not coincidences. They were bridges leading you toward what you had already assumed to be true. Man often interferes with the bridge because he wants immediate proof. He assumes something, but when his senses show him a different reality, he abandons the assumption and replaces it with doubt. He plants the seed, but before it can take root, he digs it up to see if it has begun to grow. The wise do not do this. They assume and then they rest, knowing that once a thing has been claimed, it must come to pass. You may ask, but what if the opposite happens? What if things seem to be falling apart? And I tell you, that too is part of the bridge. You do not know what must shift, what must be removed, what must realign in order for your assumption to be made visible. Often, what looks like loss is merely the clearing of the way. What looks like rejection is often a redirection. What looks like silence is preparation. If you remain faithful to your assumption, you will see, in time, that everything was necessary. It does not matter what appears in the interim. The moment you accept your desire as fact, the wheels are set in motion. There is no force that can stop it, except your own wavering mind. The only thing that can delay the bridge is doubt, for doubt creates new assumptions, and life must reflect those as well. If you believe it is taking too long, you will create delay. If you believe you must struggle, struggle will appear. But if you remain unwavering in your knowing, then no matter what unfolds, it must lead you exactly where you desire to go. The bridge of incidents is not something you need to plan. It is not something you need to force. It is simply the natural unfolding of your assumption. The moment you assume your desire is already yours, life must bring it forth. And every event along the way is part of that unfolding. You may not always recognize it while it is happening, but if you persist, you will one day look back and see that everything, even what seemed like delay, even what seemed like disappointment, was necessary. Test this for yourself. Assume something simple, something small, and hold firm in that assumption. Do not look to the world for proof. Simply know that it is done. Then watch as events unfold, as circumstances shift, as things begin to rearrange themselves in ways you could never have anticipated. Once you prove it to yourself in small things, you will understand that the process is the same for all things. The principle does not change. It does not matter if your desire is great or small. The moment you assume it is done, the bridge is set in motion. There is no need to struggle, no need to figure out how it will happen. The only requirement is that you assume and remain faithful to that assumption. Life will take care of the details. The bridge will be built beneath your feet. And when you finally arrive, you will realize that everything, every step, every moment was leading you exactly where you were meant to be. Have you ever considered that everything in life unfolds with perfect timing? That no desire comes to you too early or too late, but precisely at the right moment? Man, in his impatience, believes that if something does not arrive on his schedule, it must mean delay, denial, or misfortune. But there is no such thing as delay. There is only the precise unfolding of what has already been set in motion by your assumption. The moment you accept a thing as true, it is done. The world will move, time will shift, and people will be placed in perfect alignment to bring it forth, but all in the appointed time. The mind, caught in limitation, wants everything immediately. It watches the clock, counts the days, questions the process, and begins to doubt when there is no visible evidence. But what man calls waiting is merely the unseen preparing itself for manifestation. Every desire carries within it a perfect sequence of events that must unfold. If you plant a seed, you do not expect a full-grown tree the next day. You know there is an order to things, that first comes the root, then the sprout, then the leaves, and only in due time does the fruit appear. So it is with your desires. When you assume that something is already yours, time does not work against you, it works for you. Everything that must shift, everything that must align will do so effortlessly. There is nothing for you to chase, nothing for you to force. You do not need to make things happen. You only need to accept that they have already happened in the unseen, and the world will take care of the rest. The impatient mind believes that silence means nothing is happening, but silence is the space where everything is being arranged. What you seek is not being withheld from you, it is being prepared in the most perfect way, so that when it arrives, it is unmistakable and irreversible. You may wonder, why is it taking so long? Why has nothing happened yet? But that very question reveals that you have placed your trust in appearances rather than in your assumption. Time is only experienced as a barrier when you doubt. The more you look at the world and say, nothing has changed, the more you hold yourself in a state of waiting. But those who assume fulfillment do not concern themselves with time. They know that what they have accepted as true must come to pass, whether it arrives today, tomorrow, or in a way they could never have predicted. It does not matter. It is already done. Look at your own life and see how this has always been true. Can you not recall times when something arrived at the exact moment it was needed? Not before, not after, but precisely when it was most beneficial. Think back to moments when what once seemed like a delay turned out to be a blessing. The thing you thought you had missed, the opportunity you believed had passed, the door that seemed closed, only to later realize that everything had been working in your favor. If it had come too soon, you may not have been ready. If it had come too late, the conditions may not have been right. But it came exactly when it was meant to. Man, in his limited vision, does not see the full picture. He does not see the invisible threads that must be woven together. He believes he knows the right way, the right time, the right method, but often his greatest desires arrive in ways he never expected. The impatient mind believes that waiting means inaction, but the wise know that waiting is simply the unfolding of what has already been assumed. There is no need to rush, no need to force, only the need to rest in the knowing that what is yours will never be withheld. Those who live in faith of their assumption are not anxious, they are not troubled by time. They do not look at the world and say, why has it not come? Because they know that it has come, though the senses have not yet confirmed it. They walk through life with a quiet confidence, knowing that everything is happening exactly as it should. They do not check the clock. They do not count the days. They do not let doubt creep in. They know that divine timing is always perfect. When you accept this truth, you no longer fear delay. You no longer feel impatience. You recognize that every moment, every seeming obstacle, every period of silence is simply part of the unfolding. You may not understand why certain things must happen first, why certain doors must close before others open. But if you trust that what you have assumed is already yours, you will come to see that everything was necessary. There is no need to struggle. There is no need to wonder if you are doing enough, if you should be acting more, if you are somehow preventing your desire from arriving. The only thing required is your unwavering assumption that it is already done. Let go of time. Let go of impatience. Trust that the moment you assumed it, it was set in motion, and nothing can stop it from arriving at the perfect time. When you do this, you will no longer experience waiting, for in your mind it has already happened. And soon, the world will move in perfect order to show you what you have always known to be true. What if I told you that the very words you speak within yourself determine the course of your life? That the conversations you hold in the silence of your mind are the architects of your future. Most people believe they are merely reacting to life, that their thoughts and words are shaped by the world around them, but the truth is the opposite. Life is shaped by the thoughts and words you entertain. Every inner conversation, every mental dialogue is a seed planted in the garden of your reality. The world does not move independently of you, it reflects you. The state you habitually occupy, the inner stories you repeat, the assumptions you accept as true, all of these dictate what will unfold in your experience. You may believe that what you seek is separate from you, that it requires effort, persuasion, or external validation to be realized. But if you truly understood the power of your inner dialogue, you would see that there is nothing to pursue, only something to embody. Think of a person you wish to hear from, someone whose words you long to receive. Instead of wondering if they will reach out, if they will express what you desire to hear, turn inward and listen. Are you not already engaged in a conversation with them? Are you not imagining their silence, their hesitation, or their indifference? If so, you are holding them in that state, reinforcing the very reality you wish to change. You do not need to wait for them to speak. You must first change what is being said within. Your inner conversations create the world around you. If you wish to hear different words spoken to you, you must first speak them within yourself. If you desire to receive a heartfelt confession, an overdue message, or an expression of truth, do not look to the outer world to bring it to you. Instead, bring it forth within. Assume the conversation has already taken place. Hear their voice in your mind, speaking the words you long to hear. Feel the reality of it, as though it were happening now, and persist in this assumption until the outer world conforms. Most people spend their days replaying old dialogues, reinforcing past disappointments, and imagining future rejections. They do not realize that by doing so, they are perpetuating the very circumstances they wish to escape. They believe they are merely recalling events, but in truth they are giving life to them again and again. The mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. It simply accepts what is impressed upon it. If you continually entertain a reality where you are ignored, dismissed, or forgotten, then life has no choice but to reflect that assumption. But if, instead, you persistently hear what you desire to hear, if you dwell in the reality where you are valued, acknowledged, and spoken to with love and sincerity, then that too must become your experience. You do not need to force anyone to say what you want to hear. You do not need to reach outside of yourself and demand anything. You need only assume that it has already been said, that the words have already been spoken, that the conversation has already unfolded in your favor. And if you hold firm in this assumption, life will move to bring it into visible form. You have experienced this before, though you may not have recognized it at the time. Have you ever anticipated a conversation so vividly that when it finally happened, it felt like déjà vu? Have you ever feared an outcome so strongly that it unfolded exactly as you dreaded? This was not coincidence. It was the result of the inner dialogue you entertained. The same principle that works against you when you dwell on doubt and fear will work in your favor when you consciously assume the reality you desire. Test it for yourself. Choose someone, anyone, and imagine them saying precisely what you wish to hear. Do not concern yourself with whether they would say it, whether they mean it, or whether it is likely. Simply assume it, hear it, accept it as fact, and then go about your day knowing that it is already done. You will be astonished when life arranges itself to bring you that very conversation in ways you could never have predicted. This is not manipulation, nor is it wishful thinking. It is simply the law at work. Life is but a reflection of what you assume to be true. You are always in conversation, always shaping your world through the words you entertain within yourself. If you desire change, you must begin with the unseen, the silent, the inward. Change your inner dialogue, and you will change your world. Assume the words have already been spoken, and soon you will hear them in reality. Have you ever wondered why some desires manifest effortlessly, while others seem to remain just out of reach? Why is it that sometimes what you long for comes with ease, while at other times, no matter how much you wish for it, it appears as if nothing is happening? The answer lies not in the desire itself, nor in any external force, but in the state of being you occupy. You do not attract what you want, you align with what you are conscious of being. The world outside is nothing but a mirror, faithfully reflecting back to you the state you assume to be true. It does not matter what you say with words. It matters only what you accept as reality within yourself. If you desire to be loved, but inwardly dwell in the state of loneliness, life will bring you more evidence of separation. If you desire success, but persist in feeling unworthy, circumstances will arrange themselves to confirm that belief. You may believe you are thinking positively, but if deep within you still feel lack, then lack is what will be made manifest. The moment you shift your inner state, the world begins to respond. You do not need to manipulate, force, or struggle. You need only embody the feeling of already having that which you seek. If you desire to be loved, assume the feeling of being cherished now. If you desire recognition, assume that you are already respected and valued. This is not about pretending or wishful thinking. It is about fully dwelling in the reality of your fulfilled desire, knowing that what you assume as true must externalize itself. Most people spend their days observing life and reacting to what they see, never realizing that what they see is merely a reflection of their past assumptions. They believe that once circumstances change, then they will feel different. But this is the great misunderstanding. Circumstances do not create feelings. Feelings create circumstances. If you wait for proof before accepting a new reality, you will wait forever. But if you accept the new reality first, the proof must follow. Consider the way the world changes when you fall in love. Suddenly, everything appears brighter, more beautiful, more harmonious. The same streets, the same people, the same daily routines. All of it seems infused with a new energy. Nothing outside has changed, and yet everything feels different. Why? Because you have shifted your state. You are now looking at the world through the lens of love, and the world must respond accordingly. This is the secret behind all manifestation. You must become internally what you seek externally. You cannot wait for the world to grant you your desire. You must assume it as already yours. The moment you fully accept it within, the world will move in ways beyond your comprehension to bring it forth. It does not matter how long it takes. Time is irrelevant to the one who truly knows. The only thing that can delay a manifestation is the wavering of the mind, the return to the old state of doubt and fear. If you wish to see a change in your world, begin now by assuming the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Walk as if you are already the person you wish to be. Speak as though your desire is already a reality. Think from the place of already having it, rather than longing for it. Do not look to the outer world for confirmation. Look within and know that it is done. As you persist in this new state, the world will reshape itself to match your assumption. You have already experienced this principle at work, though you may not have recognized it at the time. Think back to moments when your mood, your expectations, your inner dialogue shifted, and then observe how life responded. Perhaps you expected a terrible day and everything went wrong. Perhaps you felt confident and unstoppable and opportunities flowed effortlessly. The world was not acting independently of you, it was reflecting you. Test this now. Choose something simple, something that carries no resistance, and assume it is already yours. Feel the reality of it. Dwell in the certainty of it, and let go of all doubt. Do not seek proof. Know that proof must come. And as you do, you will begin to see how life bends to your assumptions, how the world cannot help but reflect the truth you accept within. You will come to understand that nothing is withheld, that all things are already yours the moment you claim them, and that the only work required is the acceptance of your fulfilled desire as an absolute fact. Have you ever noticed how the world shapes itself according to what you expect? That people seem to play the exact roles you have assigned them in your mind. That the situations you encounter, the conversations you have, and the way life unfolds all seem to confirm the story you have been telling yourself. This is no accident. The world is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Every experience, every person you interact with, every event that unfolds is a reflection of the assumptions you hold. You may believe that others have independent thoughts, that they are making choices separate from you, that their actions are beyond your control. But look closely, and you will see that they are simply reflecting the role you have unconsciously given them. If you assume that someone is indifferent toward you, they will act accordingly. If you believe someone respects you, they will show you respect. If you expect love, kindness, and recognition, the world will present it to you through the people you meet. But if you carry doubt, fear, or insecurity, those same people will appear to confirm those very beliefs. This is not because others are deliberately responding to your thoughts, but because consciousness is the only reality. The state you occupy determines how life presents itself to you. You are not interacting with people as they are, you are interacting with people as you assume them to be. You do not experience the world as it is, you experience the world as you are. Consider for a moment someone you wish to hear from, someone whose words or actions you have been longing for. What have you assumed about them? Have you unconsciously placed them in the role of being distant, uninterested, or silent? Have you imagined scenarios in which they ignore you, in which they remain closed off? If so, you have been unknowingly sustaining that reality. The outer world cannot bring you something that contradicts your inner state. If you wish to change how someone behaves toward you, you must first change the assumption you hold about them. You do not need to speak a word to them, nor do you need to attempt to influence them through external means. Instead, go inward and see them differently. Assume they are already expressing the words you long to hear. Assume they are already showing up for you in the way you desire. Do not concern yourself with whether this is possible, whether they would naturally do so, or whether past experiences contradict this new assumption. All that matters is what you now accept as true, and if you persist in this new assumption, you will see them shift before your very eyes. You have already proven this principle in your own life, though you may not have realized it at the time. Think of someone you expected to be cold or distant. Did they not behave exactly as you anticipated? Think of someone you assumed would be kind and generous. Did they not fulfill that expectation effortlessly? This is not because they independently chose to be that way. It's because you saw them that way. The state you held within yourself became the reality you encountered. Most people live their lives believing they must change others through words, persuasion, or effort. They believe they must work hard to gain affection, to earn respect, to be acknowledged. But the truth is that the only thing that needs to change is within. If you hold someone in a new light, if you assume a new reality for them, they cannot help but conform to that assumption. They may not even know why they feel compelled to reach out, to say what they say, or to act as they do, but they will, because the script has already been rewritten in your consciousness. Test this for yourself. Take someone in your life and assume them to be different. If they have been distant, assume they are now warm and affectionate. If they have been unresponsive, assume they are eager to communicate. If they have been indifferent, assume they are deeply interested. Do not waver, do not look to the outer world for confirmation. Simply persist in the new assumption, and soon you will see them shift, not because they have changed of their own accord, but because you have changed your perception of them. This is not manipulation, nor is it an attempt to control others. It is simply the recognition that all people, all relationships, all experiences are governed by consciousness. The world is not separate from you, it is you expressed outwardly. Every person you meet, every conversation you have, every interaction that unfolds is showing you yourself. And the moment you accept a new assumption, the world must reorganize itself to reflect it. You do not need to struggle. You do not need to force change through effort. Simply assume, believe, and persist in the reality you desire. The people in your life will move according to the role you have assigned them, and life will shape itself according to the assumptions you hold. Change within, and the world will follow. Have you ever stopped to consider that your reality is nothing more than a reflection of what you accept as true? That everything unfolding in your world, every event, every encounter, every word spoken to you is simply an expression of the assumptions you have made, whether consciously or unconsciously. Life does not happen to you, it happens through you. The moment you truly grasp this, you will understand that nothing is beyond your reach. For all things are already yours the moment you assume them to be so. Most people move through life believing that change must come from outside of them. They look to circumstances to shift before they will allow themselves to believe in a new reality. They wait for confirmation, for evidence, for proof that what they desire is possible before they permit themselves to feel it as real. But in doing so, they trap themselves in an endless cycle of waiting. For the outer world can only reflect what is first established within. If you wish to see change, you must become it. If you desire to experience something new, you must assume it to be already true. You do not need to struggle, beg, or chase after what is already yours. There is nothing to attain, only something to embody. The moment you fully accept your desired reality as fact, the world will shift to reflect it, not because you are forcing it, but because that is the natural law at work. What you believe in your heart, what you accept as unshakably true, must externalize itself in your experience. There is no other way. Consider for a moment how effortlessly this principle has already played out in your life. Have you not seen how people respond to the way you expect them to? Have you not noticed how situations unfold exactly as you assumed they would? The fearful mind assumes rejection, and so it encounters rejection. The expectant heart assumes love, and so it is met with love. Whether you recognize it or not, you are always shaping your world through the assumptions you hold. There is no such thing as an idle thought, for every thought plants a seed, and every seed brings forth fruit after its kind. You may believe that certain things are outside of your control, that some circumstances are fixed, that some people will always behave a certain way, but these beliefs themselves are the chains that bind you. The moment you release them, the moment you assume a new reality as true, life will move in ways beyond your understanding to make it so. Do not concern yourself with how it will happen. That is not your work. Your only task is to assume the state of the wish fulfilled, to dwell in the certainty that it is already done. If you desire to hear from someone, assume they have already reached out. If you desire to be loved, assume you are already cherished. If you desire success, assume you are already living in the fullness of it. And then walk in that knowing, unshaken by appearances, unwavering in your conviction. Do not seek confirmation from the outer world. Know that the outer world must conform to the reality you have established within. Most people fail to persist. They assume a new state momentarily, only to abandon it at the first sign of contradiction. They let doubt creep in. They entertain thoughts of impossibility. And so they return to their former state. And yet the truth remains. If they had only persisted, if they had held firm to their assumption despite what the senses reported, they would have seen their world shift accordingly. The law does not fail. It is as certain as the rising of the sun. The only variable is your faith in the unseen, your willingness to remain steadfast in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. Think of something you have long desired, something you may have thought was beyond your reach. And now, instead of longing for it, instead of wondering if it will come, assume it is already yours. Assume that life has already rearranged itself to bring it to you in perfect order. Assume that the conversation has already happened, that the person has already spoken, that the event has already unfolded in your favor. Feel the reality of it now with all of your senses, and then let it go, knowing that it must manifest in its appointed time. This is not wishful thinking. This is not mere positive thinking. This is the great truth upon which all things rest. What you assume as true, what you truly believe, becomes the substance of your reality. There is no force working against you. There is no delay other than the wavering of your own mind. The moment you accept something fully, without contradiction, without doubt, without looking to the outer world for proof, it is done. You do not need to chase, to strive, to force. You need only be. Step into the assumption of your desired reality, and life will move to meet you there. The world is but a mirror, reflecting back to you what you hold within. Change the assumption, and the reflection must change. Align yourself with the state of already having, and soon you will stand in the visible reality of what was once only imagined. All that you have heard is not theory, nor is it speculation. It is law. A law as certain as gravity, as unchanging as time itself. You have been shaping your world through your assumptions, whether knowingly or unknowingly, and the life you are living today is but the outer expression of your inner state. The people you meet, the conversations you have, the circumstances that unfold, all of the reflection of what you accept as true within yourself. You do not need to wait for change to come from the outside. You do not need to struggle, plead, or force life to give you what you seek. You need only assume that it is already yours, to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, and to persist in that assumption until the world has no choice but to conform to it. This is not wishful thinking. It is the creative power that has been working in your life all along. Every moment you are planting seeds, and every assumption you persist in will bear fruit in its appointed time. If you have wondered why certain things have remained distant, why some desires seem delayed, look no further than the state you have been occupying. Have you been waiting for proof before believing? Have you been reacting to appearances rather than assuming your reality from within? The moment you shift your assumption, the moment you fully accept your desire as an already established fact, life will move to reflect it back to you in perfect order. Test this truth for yourself. Do not take my word for it. Prove it in your own experience. Assume something simple, something you carry no resistance toward, and hold it as true. Dwell in the certainty of it, and watch as the world reshapes itself to match your new assumption. And when you see it happen, when you witness the undeniable connection between your inner state and the outer world, you will never again doubt your power. Nothing is withheld from you. Nothing is beyond your reach. The only requirement is your willingness to believe, your ability to accept as real that which the senses have yet to confirm. Walk in the conviction that your desire is already fulfilled, and soon you will stand in the very reality you once only imagined.